And we're live on this Thursday and continuing in our week of bowling activation. We are going to go from one coast to the other. East Coast last week, but this week West Coast. And anything new happened since Tuesday for you, Stu?
No, but we do have a YouTube premiere today. I believe it's going up in 1 hour at 11 a.m. Central Time. So check that out. It's a new thing for me and Chris. So we've put our reputations on the line somewhat, trying to predict which balls we might use at the regional this weekend. So messages on a postcard when we're completely wrong, but there we go. So check it out. It's something about like our thought process of how we kind of come together with our arsenals, and should be good.
We have a couple of guests today to cover a few different areas and viewpoints. So let's not waste any more time. Our first guest, he's been involved in the sport at many levels as a bowler, a pro shop operator, a salesman, an author, and recently as an activist to help open California bowling centers. Welcome to the show, Ric Hamlin.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Thanks for joining us.
So do you want to just give us a little bit of a rundown of, what's been going on? What's your process? What's been some of the issues you've run into?
Well, the biggest issue is that our state, the governor has us lumped into a lot of different indoor activities. And as Washington was able to do, New York State was able to do, and I believe Illinois was able to do, they were able to separate themselves and be able to present to the governor more of what bowling centers are versus what an arcade might be, or a pub, or a billiards. So we're trying to work in that direction to get our governor to be able to notice us and realize that we are not in those type of circumstances. When you look at like Chris has got a great example in the back, bowling is safer than Walmart. You look at the places that are open, you've got Walmart, you've got Target, you've got big box stores, and nobody is coming down with cases. Yet we have 252 bowling centers that are currently shut down in this state. So we're trying, BPAA has been working their butts off, trying different ways to get to the health department, to be able to get to the governor. We're just trying to do something different to get attention.
Yes, I mean, we had a similar issue in Texas for a really short while, where bowling centers were actually in the same sentence as strip clubs.
Yeah,
that was super productive and useful. I almost think that it actually helped bowling here in Texas because it was so ridiculous that it kind of like, he realized that, that probably wasn't the best.
Well, I remember reading something in New York State, and they were talking about you could go get a tattoo, you could go to a strip joint, but you couldn't go bowl. So you had strip joints and tattoo parlors open in New York City, and bowling centers were not allowed to open.
Yeah, I think there's still the same thing we fight a lot in bowling. There's just a stereotypical thing. They're still smoky and dirty and things that from 1974. And if they knew the cleaning procedures that went into the vast majority, if not nearly all bowling centers at this point, that the Walmarts and the restaurants are following now because they have to, bowling has been doing for decades.
So that's a great point, Chris, because one of the things I highlighted, we were at the Capitol last Friday. We had a really good rally on the Capitol steps. And that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight in the speech that I gave was that I would bet money that our bowling centers right now, the ones that I've been into, the ones that I've seen, are safer than going into a Walmart, are safer than going into a Lowe's. Mike Leong, who owns Bel Mateo Bowl in San Mateo, he spent $35,000 on retrofitting his bowling center. He put in a thermal imaging scanner for every person to walk through when they walked into his bowling center. Gary Foreman had started about, 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, where they came up with procedures for all the bowling centers to put in. Bowling centers have implemented the plexiglass protection. They've implemented different stations now for the house balls or the house shoes, where one person might touch them as well as the customer. All of the areas that any of the customers might come into contact with, they are now sanitizing these areas. They're going down and following them. So you're seeing things done in bowling centers while we were only open for 3 weeks. You're seeing things that were done that walk into a Lowe's and just walk around and see what they're doing. Walk into a Home Depot. And I don't mean to attack these big box stores, but it's a little ridiculous when you sit back and you see that we're closed down and you look at what's open.
Yeah.
Just sharing a picture. I think that was from Sacramento, because I saw the there's Rick has a Facebook page called Open California Bowling Centers. I will drop the link into the comments. I think that's going to be the best place for everybody to go to try to find as much information about your cause. Obviously, with all of these groups, the more people who get on board and join, the power is always in the numbers.
Well, and that's a very good point. When I started it was myself, and I just reached out to anybody and everybody that I could. We're at over 5,200 members at this point. We've got to make our voice louder. By you guys providing us an avenue here to get our word out a little bit more is only going to help. Right now, we've got Hawaii, Portland proper, California, New Mexico, Michigan, and North Carolina are still closed. And you guys know as well as anybody being in the industry, when you have distributors and bowling centers that are operating at 10 to 30% of capacity, it's going to hurt everybody. It's trickle-down effect. Mm-hmm. We were figuring this out over the weekend. Bowling in the state of California is probably worth about $500 million to $600 million. You start taking that away from the revenue and it starts adding up. If Starbucks tells you that they're going to close down 300 stores, that's in the news. You read about it. That's going to affect stock prices. If you read an article that says there's 250 bowling centers and 245 of them are independent and they go away, you're not going to hear anything about it.
No, it's a sad place that we've got to now. That's almost a different issue for another show. People are just so blasé about owner operators and such rather than it being big box stores, because it's only the same with restaurants everywhere as well.
True.
Everybody loves that, hey, you should come to my city, we'll go to this restaurant, and then nobody will buy takeout from that place when they're struggling. It's right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that going on. Do you see a situation where even if some of the bowling centers get open, the restrictions could be to a point where it causes almost more trouble being open than closed?
Well, and that's one of the things with Washington State. When Washington was able to open last week, a bunch of the proprietors had sent me their restrictions. And theirs is 2 on a lane, but they can bowl on both lanes. So you can have 4 in a pair. They're going to allow open. They're going to allow league. They just had some different restrictions. And I reached out to a couple of guys and I said, man, these are these are pretty confining. Are you guys going to be able to survive? And they all told me, you should have saw what we started with. They wanted to start with one person on a lane and then have a lane in between everybody. So yes, there is that conversation. Some centers, I've talked to some centers that said they would probably sit back and wait 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to see what the impact is. Because if you open up and you bring your employees back and then you've got to close back down 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, now you've got to put them back on unemployment.
No, 100%. I mean, the one thing I can talk definitely about in our experience in Texas, I was talking quite closely with the owners of Mel's because I'm in there all the time. And David Kellerman's the head of the Texas Bowling Center Proprietors Association. So he's been really trying to keep everybody on the same track because, of course, with Texas, there's a lot of parts of Texas that are a really small town that the entire town might only have 3 cases. And then you go to like a huge metro like Dallas or even Austin now, and then it's a different case as well. But what was really nice to see was that they kept the dialogue open with the governor. And as it was opening, it was quite quickly, I think, that the situation changed. A couple of weeks in, they were allowed to do something a little bit different. Couple more weeks, okay, we're starting to see that this isn't really, we're not having that nightmare scenario where you open for one night and suddenly there's 500 cases of COVID coming from the bowling center. So yeah, that's been that's definitely been a positive. I think that they've been able to roll out the changes, change after change.
Well, that's a good example. I mean, I don't know if you play golf. I know Chris plays golf. A couple of the courses out here that are owned by the county, they've never closed, and they implemented a lot of things immediately. And as we first started, if my wife and I went out to play golf, we couldn't even ride in a cart together. They had so many restrictions on the course, and now you go, and now you can ride in a cart with somebody else if you're from the same household or if you happen to. So it's exactly what you're talking about. They've been able to soften the restrictions, and that's the same thing that they're talking about up in Washington State. It's like, look, right now, this seems extreme, but you got to give it time. Like you were just saying, we were open for 3 weeks. We had one case in one bowling center, and it wasn't identified for a couple of 3 days until after a tournament was bowled. The person and the person who was riding with were the only two that came down with it, and they were fine after probably 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, like I say, all I really mean to it is just to those bowling centers. I mean, actually opening up, even if in the short term it does that pain when you open. I just think that even from the customer side of it as well, I think that customers are going to be a little bit hesitant to go in to start with because they, there's a new normal and they've got to kind of get their brain around it. But it probably took maybe a month. I felt up here because of course in Texas it was dead in the middle of the summer, so it wasn't necessarily everybody was super motivated to be in there. But it really felt like once people kind of understood the process, how they were doing it, what was okay, what wasn't okay, that people started to come back. And now there's been several times that I've gone into the bowling center, I haven't even been able to get access to a lane.
That's a good point, because a lot of the centers, the ones that I was in when we were open, that's what they said. They said they were getting a lot of people from out of the area to come in. Until they were able to get their locals to come back in, that's when they knew that it was going to be okay. And it's like you said, you go in on a Saturday and they have a waiting list, which was nice to see. But you're right. I think we're at a point now, especially out here, because we're almost 5.5 months into this. People are kind of more okay with what's going on. They're more used to it. So if they walk in, they understand what's being responsible distance. There's more markers on the floor for 6 feet. Everybody's a little bit more aware of what's going on. So that's why you're correct with what you're saying. There's going to be people that are going to be hesitant to come into the bowling centers, but there are going to be those that just want to come in and bowl, and they're going to play by the rules.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was actually going to talk about this a little bit. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we have some questions, and it's interesting as it's across the country, because obviously here in New York is much like California. So what happens when a league starts alternating lanes without shields between lanes and lowering the mask? The rule in Texas has basically been the entire time, once you're at your table, you can take your mask off. You have to put it back on to walk in between the center. The tables are a little farther apart than they normally are. My son bowled a trios league all summer with basically normal bowling protocol, two pairs, two teams on a pair, and no cases throughout, less high fives.
Right. But that's kind of, I know what they set up in Washington, and it's something that we've talked about down here, that if you're on lane 1 and I'm on lane 2 is my designated area. So Stu might go up and bowl on lane 1, and then he would come back, and once he was finished, then we would go up and bowl on lane 2. And then when we were done, Stu might go over onto lane 2, but we would still stay in our designated area. A lot of the bowling centers, one of the things they did was, if you were in a more traditional type setting, they would put a sign up that said, "This is your designated area. This is where you'll stay." So, but like you were saying, Chris, a lot of the places out here had that exact same thing. Once you were in the settee area, you could take your mask off if you were comfortable. If you didn't want to, you didn't have to. I know in Nevada, I believe all of the centers in Nevada are making you wear your mask the whole time you're in there.
Yes. I was about to bring up, I actually bowl 2 leagues at the minute, and they do it in 2 different ways. It's quite interesting. I bowl a trios league on a Monday, and we use every other pair. So basically, the tables that are on your pair that you're actually using are kind of the DMZ.
Yeah.
So nobody uses those, and like you use the tables from lanes 1 and 2, and they use the tables. So maybe it's like I use the table from lane 2, and they use the table from lane 4 or whatever to try and spread it out so that everybody can stay 6 feet away. And you actually have, so we use every other pair. Then I bowl a 5-man league, and we use every pair, but we only have 1 team per pair. Because I think that some of the misunderstanding is, I mean, a pair of lanes is 11 feet wide.
Right.
It doesn't seem like it is, but it is. So with all the seating area and stuff, and like, as long as people are being like somewhat sensible with how they're going up and stuff, you kind of are like, a ways away from everybody as it goes. And
that's one of the things we've been trying to really highlight is it's 5.5 feet, from one side of the lane to the other. It's 11 feet from the center to the other center. So we've been trying to, if you keep a lane in, I'll tell you, Salt Lake City did something where if they had a 24-team league, the first week, whoever was on the odd lane would bowl the first set. And then the bowling center would come in and clean everything. And then the next set, so they wouldn't even bowl against each other. So everybody's kind of finding different ways to be able to make it work.
Right.
And that's what we're trying. That's all we want is a chance to open, to be able to show that we can be responsible.
So here we go. This is, hey, Bowlers Guru. Seriously? We're going with air circulation? I mean, come on, dude.
It's a 50,000 square foot building.
I mean,
yes,
a bowling center is massive. So
you don't see it in a Walmart. You don't see it in a Lowe's. And yet you're going to target a bowling center?
Yeah, and this is what I get back to that Hector came back. That was my understanding. Now it's relaxed too much. Well, the thing is, what I'm saying is, it's not. You have your own bowling balls. You have your own equipment. You have your own. Walmart going and checking out at the self checkout is infinitely more dangerous than bowling.
But yet, have you heard of a case yet in a Walmart?
No, I mean
exactly.
And go and put back
right,
and then it happens all the time, and it's also not the end of the world. Right. I'm not saying don't go to Walmart either. That's not my thing. And we bowl. It's county to county, so we bowl with masks. And for guys like us, Rick, that have glasses, and Stu, I have found them at those sport masks with valves that go out. Are you can actually bowl in them. They're not bad. You can breathe, the whole thing. I don't like them any more than anybody else, but I wore it for 4 hours straight, and it was fine.
Yeah, you look like Bane. I kept telling you it's down there like this.
Except for the body, kind of missed out on that part.
But you get to bowl, and that's what so many of our bowlers have said. If we got to wear a mask, we'll wear a mask. Just let us bowl.
I think that the problem is I think that bowling's being held to a different standard. Like all of these questions, I think are more than fair. Like about the air circulation, or this is too relaxed or that's too relaxed. The problem is, yes, there could be a case of COVID. Yes, there has been cases of COVID in the bowling center, but there's been cases of COVID everywhere.
Everywhere.
So it's like, I guess it's more a case of it's whether you're prepared to have that calculated risk. I mean, I guess you could put up plastic all around your house, and I'm not saying that makes them good or those people good or bad. I'm just saying that you can't hold one industry to one standard and other industries to a different standard, and then expect for people not to get pissed off about it.
I've had asthma for 51 years. I've had to protect myself from influenza and pneumonia. This is no different. And it goes exactly what you're saying. You still just have to be cautious of what you're doing. I go to the golf course probably every day. Golf rounds are up 70% this year. It was reported on the PGA a couple of weeks ago. How many cases of COVID have you seen reported at a golf course? And trust me, you go to golf courses, you think they're going to be responsible and whatnot. guys are still out there having a good time. It's no different than when we bowl. You just don't, at the end of the round, you don't shake hands as we used to. You might foot bump or whatever. But bowling can be just as responsible.
Yeah, and like I say, I don't think that any of these things are going to make anybody like COVID proof. Like, there's nothing that any of these things can do that are going to fix the solution completely. And it's just, what's a reasonable amount of risk, or whatever you want to say it. And like, yeah, I do think that we've got to. I think the bowling needs to police itself. I think that what worked really well in New York, from my experience talking to some of the guys, not with bowling, just in general, was that when people decided to stroll around without masks all over the place, people put them in check.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, when you're in the bowling center and there's, you're in the middle of the bowling center, you're just strolling around without a mask, someone needs to say to you, that's not okay.
Every center in Washington I've seen put out their protocols. They have said it. Please don't come in here and put us in a bad position. Don't make us be the bad guy when we tell you either have to leave or please put your mask on. And if that's what it requires to get a bowling center open, then please play by the rules so that we can get going further along. And like, you said that earlier. It's like, at some point they'll relax the restrictions. Look at what you guys have been bowling at in Texas.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, it's too, like you said, for some people, it's too dangerous. It's not a situation they want. But I think the better option is if that's how you feel, I perfectly respect your opinion on it. Just you don't go.
Right.
And let some of these businesses survive, because obviously on the West Coast, the price of dirt is so exorbitant that once these centers go away, there's not going to ever be a replacement.
No, and that's a good point, Chris, because you bring up Fountain Valley Bowl, which everybody's made that's 5 acres in Orange County on a corner street. What do you think that's worth?
Well, a while back it was worth $17 million.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's more than that now. There's a bowling center in Napa, and it's right on Main Street. It's 2 acres right on Main Street, and the owner has said if this gets into October, November, guess what? That's not going to be a bowling center. Because, how long can you go? We're 5.5 months into this. How long can a business survive under these circumstances? And, I've said this, we're at 252 right now, and you get into October, November, and we're going to start knocking off 5 to 10% every month. And that's not going to be good for anybody.
Yes, Selwyn, unfortunately, for some reason, the world has changed and nobody really appears to want to do what they're asked or told. I don't really know what the solution is other than hiring a big MMA dude. That would probably work out okay.
To be fair, though, we've seen very little of that here. We had some stuff at the beginning, and with people, wanting to bark about it, and really, it's been very minimal since then.
It's calmed down.
It's just become part of the fabric now. You have to wear it to go into Walmart. You have to wear it to go basically anywhere. So it's
right.
It's not really such a.
We flew. My wife and I flew down to San Diego about a month ago, and it's it's like you said, Chris. I'm not a fan of wearing them, but I wanted to go down there, so I wore it in the airport. I wore it on the airplane. I wore it to get my rent-a-car. That's the way that's what we had to do, and you play by the rules to get to do what you want to do, whether it's right or wrong. And that's the same thing that we're wanting to do with bowling. Give us a chance. It's
not really any different than no shoes, no shirt, no service. You also don't have to wear a shirt. They also do not have to serve you.
Right.
It's just.
So just a couple of things that I forgot to put in, but I wanted to. Here is Michigan bowling proprietors and companies. I know Turbo were there as well, one of my sponsors.
Yep.
They took their protest to the steps. Yeah, I think that's a pretty powerful image for the bowling industry to see that many guys out with their signs. Although it doesn't look like it, they were social distancing between groups. But yeah, it was hopefully these sorts of things are going to be what helps us in the long run. I know that we have Ric's group again. I can show you that so you all know where that's at.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep updates on there probably every day, every other
That's
day.
what it looks like. If you join, it'll be in. There is a acceptance process, but it'll just be a click.
Yeah.
So let's try.
I'll tell you, Stu, we're trying to keep politics out of this because we were told that this is about safety. It's about awareness. You cannot bring politics into this, and this is what we're trying to keep out of this forum. Is basically just focusing on getting our bowling centers open. So if you come in, please keep that in mind. Yeah,
no problem. I mean, let's try and get that group up to at least 6,000 by the end of the day.
I'd love it. Love it. Appreciate it.
Charlie Tapp said Michigan's in the same. She will not be bullied into making a decision or any decision, evidently.
Yeah, Charlie had messaged me after the press conference yesterday. He had messaged me about that. That you look at one point we had New York, Michigan, and California, and Michigan's probably the biggest state for sanctioned bowlers, and then you had New York and California. That's a lot of bowlers. That's a lot of the industry right there. And Michigan, I mean, the way Charlie made it sound yesterday is that who knows when they're going to get open, and I think we're in the same boat.
Yeah, and I'd hope it's not political, but it sure seems like it. And I don't want to have that topic here. I don't. It's a non-starter. It's non-winnable. So on either side, but
okay, Rick. Well, we really appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you guys having us on today, just to be able to talk about this. Truly, this is great. This is what we need.
Well, no problem. We keep us updated. We'll try and come up with some ideas for you on things that maybe we can engage more of the country who are bowling with the governor. South Florida, Palm Beach County still isn't open, so there's another one to add to the list. Thank you, Judy. A lot of people from Michigan. Michigan was always top when it came to membership. Yeah, for sure. We need to get everybody back on the lanes because the process is going to be a long one. And the longer that they're not on the lanes, the harder that process is to restart, because it's not going to be like that. The governor in Michigan isn't going to say, okay, you can just go back to normal. Like it's going to be a rollout. So the longer it takes, the harder it is to get back to that situation. So
and that's kind of one of the things that I was talking about earlier about. It's not just California. There's 5 states that still aren't open. We've got to get everybody open. It's got to be for the better good of all of bowling. So
all right.
So go to his Facebook page. The links are in the comments. Join that group now and do your part as well. Maybe with a little more voice behind us, we can get some of these centers open.
And any ideas anybody has, we're we're willing to listen to people. I mean, anybody that's got an idea. I was told a month ago there are no bad ideas at this point. So
okay, well, we will we'll keep pushing the message out, and we're now going to go to a slightly more talented person on the left coast here.
Slightly. That's a thank you.
All right, thanks, Rick.
All right, guys, see ya.
All right. Well, and with that, I don't think we should waste any time. So this next gentleman is a proprietor of 2 different centers, and but maybe perhaps slightly better known as a 14-time titleist, a 4-time major winner, including 3 U.S. Opens, back-to-back in 95 and 96. He was a 2-time Sportsmanship Award winner before he started winning too much. He was 2013 Proprietor of the Year, and he's also a generational owner, as he bought the centers from his father, Champ, the one and only Dave Husted.
Morning.
What's going on, big boy?
Just trying to survive. Enjoyed the comments there before, but just trying to survive. I've had plenty of time to grow a beard and get fat, but I'm wearing my good shirt this morning.
Well, we're not in a place to judge about either one of those other 2 parts. I can't grow much of a beard, but Yeah.
So when you were setting up, I saw your son Corey in the back.
Yeah.
It's fun because our paths never really crossed with bowling.
Right.
But I remember one of the first times that I saw Corey bowl, I'm like, this guy's dad won 3 U.S. Opens? No way. Man, back in the day at the U.S. Open.
He has his own style.
Yes, he does.
A little different generation.
Yeah.
His style does translate across the board too. So
Absolutely.
that's right.
He is, but I will give him one thing. Corey is the most chilled out guy when he's bowling. Crossing with him is the best. Like,
He's pretty.
never gets pissed off about it. Just gets on with it.
He's pretty low key. He's pretty low key.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree there.
Yeah.
I crossed with Dave a few times, and you never really knew whether Dave was shooting 300 over that block or 50 over that block. It was all kind of.
Yeah.
You saw that one, you knew he had a good one going.
Gotta take it with the bad. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
somebody just quickly is asking, where did you get your yellow dot T-shirt from?
My wife found it online. I said, well, I got to have one of those puppies. I can't remember the site, but she found it online, so she ordered me up one. So
thought it might be the original one.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and it's probably not good for me, but I believe it was from Inside Bowling. I believe it's Flanagan's site that has it.
Okay, probably is.
Yeah. So, what's going on in Oregon? Are you got basically a similar story to what Rick was talking about?
Yeah, well, actually, there's only 12 centers that aren't open out of 48, I believe. Now we're down to, but the big thing for us is in there's 3 counties that are really affected, and they're the biggest counties in the state. They have the more dense population, so I understand what's going on there. They don't want people to cross over and possible infection, but a lot of centers have been open. But the thing that really is disturbing is, obviously the loss of income is a huge thing, but there's no communication with the government at all. You'll know as soon as I do when I get to open. Literally, I don't. All the time we sent emails, letters to the county commissioners, the governor's office. I mean, you name it. Our proprietor group has been fantastic. Fellow proprietors have been fantastic. The ones that are open are trying to help us. The ones that aren't. But the big thing is I don't know when I'm going to be open. I mean, we just got open in Washington. I have a center across the river, and with some severe restrictions, but at least we're open. And we can start doing a little business up there. So Oregon-wise, this is our little bowling center here. We've been doing it for 63 years. And now all of a sudden, we've been closed for 5.5, 6 months. It's tough. It's really tough.
Tell everybody the name of your 2 centers real quick.
Milwaukee Bowl in Milwaukee, Oregon, and then Husted's Hazel Dell Lanes in Vancouver, Washington.
Okay. So how long have you been open in Washington? Since the shutdown, I mean.
Well, we just got the okay last Thursday, I believe it was, to open. I am not open yet up there. I'm going to be open September 8th. We got to change some staffing and do some things up there, but and try to get our leagues ready to go on a very limited basis. But we're just going to have to run 2 shifts of leagues. I'm still a league house there. I got over 1,200 league bowlers, which is a good number. And we're going to have to get creative and do some different things. But everybody seems to want to play ball, so that's very encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to Brad Angelo just the other day, and afterwards we were spitballing a few ideas with him. And like I say, from what we've done in Texas, there's been like 2 or 3 different ideas. I think I kind of like the idea that to just embrace it being different and kind of run those like short seasons. A lot of people are kind of running that till Christmas and see kind of where it's at. And, I mean, I've been trying to convince some of the leagues to really think outside of the box, like because they're doing every other pair.
Yeah,
they're doing one team per pair.
right.
And I said to the guys, I mean, I couldn't get them to commit to it, but I said, well, why don't we just have a time limit league? You get 3 hours, you get your pair, you get an hour and a half. If you're not done, you're done.
You're done.
And like, I don't know how traffic is by you, but like in Austin where we bowl, like the traffic used to be horrendous. Well, trying to convince these guys to start the league 15 minutes early. And the thing, I'm like, there's no traffic anymore.
Right.
Nobody's going down anymore. So, but I just think that the people who are, want to embrace change and like try and do it in like just something different, even if it's only for a short season, I think there's a lot of potential. Like bowl against the whole league, just things like that. Like,
Yeah. The restrictions in Washington are really pretty strict. I think it almost just makes it be an involuntary closure to some people. But 2 on a lane, we can use every lane, but only 2 on a lane. Yeah. No spectators. So I still have some 5-person teams, so they're going to have to do some rotating. But 2 shifts. I'm not real smart, but I got 24 lanes up there. Times 2 is 48. Some nights I need to handle 120. Can't do it. Mm-hmm. This is a thing that, and I'm there again, not real smart, but this is not going to go back to normal.
No.
Whatever normal was, it's not going to go back there. And people have to stop thinking that. We're going to try to structure things that we're going to lose 20-25% margin on our numbers right off the top. It's just going to happen. And it's going to take 4 or 5 years to get things back, unfortunately. So, with the PP&P, the EDIL loans, I mean, there's some ways to kind of keep yourself going. But I'll tell you what, it's going to put a lot of people in check. And, what happened to Fountain Valley, that's a big bag of money. It's a big bag of money. People have been in the business a long time. I mean, my dad's has been in the business forever. He's 89 years old. If somebody comes to him and offers him 10 or 12 million for one of his centers, what's he supposed to say? Mm-hmm. It's pretty much cut and dry. I mean, it's terrible. Like you said, there's no more dirt out there. It's just ridiculous to become real estate deals when you're done. I mean, that's the game. But the bad thing to me is that the government has really forced our hand and kind of forget about our bowling industry. And that's the really thing that's really hurting us. But getting back to the bowling stuff, like you said, we're going to start out with, in Washington, we're going to start out with a 12-week league. Hopefully some restrictions will be lifted by then as well. Maybe we can get a few more people on the lanes, and then take a week or 2 off for the holidays. First of the year starts, and then regroup and decide what we're going to do then as well, Stu. But that's kind of what we're doing. And our daytime leagues, I got a lot of daytime leagues up there as well. They won't be quite as affected, but we'll have to do some creative stuff there. And we're concerned about our older customers, our seniors, and kind of what Chris said earlier also, if they're not comfortable coming in the center, they should not come. Mm-hmm. It's not on us. It's not on them. We want everybody. We want our customers, our family. They're like family to us. We want them to be safe and feel safe. And we're going to do everything we can. We have our protocol. We have everything in place, but we have to make sure we do a great job. I want my porters out all the time with a rag in one hand and a spray bottle in the other, and wiping everything down so everybody sees it. It's very, very important. We have to be very visible in all the stuff we're doing. And because we cannot be open for a couple of weeks and get shut down again. That would be really, really bad.
Yeah, I think some of the issues that have come across in Texas is, one proprietor might see it the way you see it. Another proprietor sees it slightly differently. And then everybody gets lumped in with the same thing. It's right. That's the thing that sucks for bowling. Like, if one grocery store, just to use them as an example, I feel like we're beating a dead horse a little bit, but sure. One grocery store was suddenly getting like hundreds of these cases coming out of it, they wouldn't shut all the grocery stores and make them just be like delivery. But it's like with some of the other industries, it's like, well, if one bad apple really does spoil everybody, because they just lump everybody together and say, oh, well, look, this happened at this center. Yeah, but that's not my business.
Right.
Shut him down. Don't shut me down.
Well, I did get a note on the side, and I don't want to make too much light of this, but they said, bowling might be safer, but can you do that at Walmart and bowling?
Well, in all honesty, the other problem, hearing from some proprietors that have been open, there are some real problems with some of the government agencies as well. OSHA comes into a couple bowling centers and tells one proprietor one thing, and the next week another proprietor hears from them and they tell him something different.
Yes.
I mean, that makes things really, really tough. So we're going to have with the health department there a lot, show them what we're doing and not doing. We want to try to be proactive on this. And if they say, hey, you need to be doing this or add this to what you're doing, by all means, that's what we're going to do. This is new to everybody. So we're just trying the best we can. But the big thing is we want our customers to feel like they're safe and they can bring their family in as well, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen here is he's one of the proprietors here in Rowlett near Dallas, and he's saying that they're doing the 2 teams per pair for the summer, but using every other pair. And that was a development, like we were talking to Rick earlier. It's like found out one set of things, and you kind of had to go with that for a few weeks. And then the governor here was quite proactive in changing stuff as it went, as they had feedback. The dialogue was open, and then they were like, rolling out, you can do it a little bit like this, or you can do it a little bit like this, a bit more at a time. So hopefully you get a similar case in Washington.
Right.
You can get up and running, and it's going to suck to start with, but hopefully build it will.
You've been in phase 1 for a while, right? The 50 capacity deal, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I could have been open all along, selling food and drink and stuff, but it just didn't pencil. It was just a loser for me in my centers. I know some of the bigger centers, and in Washington, another thing is they shut down all the arcades. So the FECs up there, it's bowling and it's bowling. So it's just a tough deal. But the lack of communication and not knowing anything just drives you nuts. It's just a terrible deal. It really is. And I'm glad hopefully it's coming to an end here, but the bowling industry is strong. We're all, a lot of people are helping. A lot of people are calling with ideas, et cetera, et cetera. We need you guys to get back out on the lanes. We need everybody to get back out there and doing what they're doing. That's the big thing.
Yeah, there you go. Steven's saying, best of luck. Agree. Customers must witness all of the additional cleaning. We did find, like I say, in the bowling center I was with, we did find that like people, the first couple of weeks it was slow, but like in recent times I've never been so happy to go into the bowling center and them say to me, "Yeah, you can't get a lane for an hour."
Nice problem to have right now.
I drive 20 minutes to the bowling center. I never thought I'd get to the point where I wouldn't be pissed off when they said you can't get a lane.
Absolutely.
So,
And again,
definitely living in a different world. I actually called Chris the other day, like, because I was in the bowling center. We were supposed to be filming something. I go, "Yeah, I can't do it." "Oh, yeah, why?" "Well, I've got this great news. I can't get a lane."
They're full.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, and like I say, it's hopefully everybody has the same experience that in the way the bowling centers have opened as Texas kind of has, because like I say, it was shut down, and like I say, we were in with strip clubs for a little while.
Right.
The governor actually had in the same sentence as strip clubs in his press release, but they've kind of been able to adapt, and it's fun. Like I'm actually enjoying bowling 5-man tournaments now because we don't bowl with 10 people. If you guys want to take ages, that's fine. I'm picking my 5 guys. We're getting on with it.
That's right.
So yeah, it's definitely different, but hopefully, like we say, you can.
Well, and you're talking about the older group too. The SASBA tournaments around here, the over 50 club. I mean, they're bowling all the time.
Right.
And they, by and large, a lot of the places are bowling with masks. There are certainly some guys in that organization that are pretty concerned, and so some of them don't bowl, or they bowl in masks no matter what.
Right.
The local protocol is, because there's basically following local. The one we were at last weekend, Jamie Brooks Center, we had to wear one. You could pull it down while you were throwing a shot. Was the only time it was supposed to be down. So basically, you just wore it the whole time. It was more that way. But others are more relaxed, and some guys just, it's much like when we used to go to Asia, and there's people that just wear masks all the time.
Right. Yeah. You've seen that for years. Exactly. No different at all. If you don't feel comfortable, I mean, we're here. We have to. We're mandated no matter where we go in public. We have to wear them, which is fine. And like you said, we don't like it. Some people don't like it. But if they come in one of our centers and don't have it on, we will, if you don't have one, we will ask them, we have one for you. If you can't put it on, you're going to have to leave.
Yeah, the protocol for Ryan at Wichita State is they have to wear it at all times, bowling.
Right.
And
that's it.
You have to be moving, you have to be safe there, especially in a campus environment. So,
right.
Again, it's just do whatever we have to do to keep these places open. Stu and I both said we've eaten more bowling center food than we've eaten in some because it's the same thing. These places are supporting us. We're actually, some of the people that are in there quite often, and if we can help out in any little small way, but
every little bit helps, no question.
There, help out that place, because it's been closed for a while, and it's certainly not getting to operate at full capacity at this point, no matter where you're at in the country.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It really comes down to the fact that, like, if I have a choice of giving my money to the bowling center or giving it to, Arby's, Subway, etc., it's like it's not even really a concern. And that's what I hope that a lot of the players, like a lot of the league bowlers, do. Like, try your best to schedule in a time. Like, I had the additional time to be able to go and eat at the bowling center. I mean,
right.
It doesn't seem like it's like at times it won't seem like it's a big deal to you, or this isn't going to make a difference. But I mean, it really does to the bottom line of the sentence. Like, getting any sort of extra additional revenue coming in is like, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Got to get you in the door and have a chance to bowl, maybe have something to eat, spend a little money in the pro shop, whatever it happens to be. But yeah, it really all does add up, especially at the end of the month, no question.
Yeah. So on a more light-hearted subject, let's talk a little bit. Chris told me you wouldn't do it, but I'm going to do it. Let's talk a little bit about your career. 4 majors, 14 titles, and if Dell kind of falls into this same category, I feel like you're kind of like the forgotten superstars a little bit. You're not really like front and center. I mean, Dell's almost more famous he is more famous for throwing it in the gutter than he is for, being one of the 50 greatest bowlers of all time. You don't have that excuse. You didn't throw it in the gutter to lose a tournament. So why is it that you feel? Why is it that you're kind of the forgotten man? Do you think?
Well, I don't think I'm the forgotten man. I'm not ego driven. But the thing about Ballard was, correct me if I'm wrong, what did he do the next week?
Yeah, he won.
He won.
I think that tells a little bit about what he's got in here. I mean, Del Ballard was nails. He was when he got it going a little bit and he had that little song going in his mind. Look out. Yeah. I'm not Chris kind of knows. I know Chris a little bit better than used to, but and he knows me a little bit. But it became a job to me very early, and I was not out there to look for fame or anything else. It was just a way to pay the bills and feed my family, to be honest with you. And I approached it that way because I think that helped me in myself personally perform better overall. I had to stick to business, otherwise, I couldn't worry about all the other stuff going on. And what are you going to do here? What are you doing between stops? Well, I need to practice or maybe play golf one day and then get to where I need to go and start over again. But I'm not. I was just kind of the guy that bowled and went back to the room and did it again the next day. And then hopefully when the dust cleared, I had a few nickels in my pocket and went on to the next stop. So
These stories, you know, so you get in the car, you have like whatever your 15 seconds to say whatever, and then you didn't talk about it to the next block. And this is when you bowl ABAB. So you had 3 hours between blocks and get in the car. How'd you bowl? All right. Bakes, yeah, you know, how'd you bowl, Bakes? You know, 100 over for 6. That was kind of the pace, whatever. Go eat lunch, hang out in the room, go back. Bakes looked at the sheet, and he's, you know, Bird said he bowled okay. I looked in, just keep going up. Oh, he led. He was 326 over the first block.
Yeah.
Gave away a couple shots. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a rule. We didn't once we got the tires left the parking lot of the bowl, we didn't talk bowling much. So it was just one of those things. You know, what are you gonna do?
Well, I think, you know, at that time you were the one that had all the keys. And so you just weren't sharing the keys with Bakes, I think is the deal, right?
That is very true. His lifestyle at that time didn't lend to him having the keys very often. That's very true.
Slightly elsewhere, you know.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So some of the younger viewers, or maybe some of the international viewers, I decided that like I was going to bring this up because I think this is fun. The PBA had their 50 greatest bowlers of all time. So you came in at 23, which
too low.
Yeah, it could have been higher. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But like some of the names that you were ahead of, just to give perspective. Ouch! Oh, look, there's a young Chris Barnes, Steve Cook. There's Dallin Tommy with hair. Man, how old's that picture? David Ozio, Randy Pearson. Did he rub a cat on his nose for that picture? Tom Baker. There's PA, Dougie. So I guess more for me.
There's Barry Asher with a lot of hair.
Yeah,
a lot.
But I just felt like that maybe gives a better perspective to some of the guys who maybe didn't get the opportunity to see you perform.
Well,
where you were stacking up.
You know, that was, and Chris, when was that? Was that like 2008 or something? They did that?
Yeah, right around there.
It's been a while, obviously, because, you know, Chris, I mean, his other guys go flying by me, and that's the way it should be. You know, it's, you know, the thing about it is history is one thing, but, you know, we all had our time, you know, if you want to call it that. I don't mean it in an uppity way, but I mean, we all were out there at a time. I spent a lot of time out there. I spent almost 25 years on the road. So it was a long haul. And, you know, if you're fortunate enough to succeed a little bit, those kind of things come with it. But, you know, you got Barney there who, you know, is just kind of getting started in his career, and what his stuff that he's compiled is ridiculous. I mean, he's in the top 10, top 12 all time. Tommy Jones, I mean, all these guys, you know, so, and that's the way it should be, you know, if Chris and I walk into a bowling center and I don't get recognized, that's okay. It's not a big deal to me. I've been off the beaten path for a long time. Somebody's got to be real old to remember me when I walk in the bowling center in a different bowling center, a different state with Chris Barnes. They go, "Who's the old guy with Barney? Is that his dad or something?" I mean, really, I mean, that's the way it should be. And you know, the younger guys, that's what I try to do now at home. You know, I try to help the juniors mentor the younger guys around town so they have their time. You know, make them feel special, make them feel the way they should, even though it's harder to get on tour now. But, you know, they should be mentored and helped, and the respect that they gain around town, they earn that. And that's the way it should be. To me, you know, I did not go out on tour to try to get fame. That was not what I want to do. I love the game of bowling. I want to see how good I could get at it, period.
I do feel like if you had a reincarnation of somebody who gets kind of looked over, yet does the silent striking, I think your brother in arms would be Francois Lavoie. And I understand that it's a little bit the same way, but it is very funny. I have a lot of these conversations with Frankie when, like, you know, other guys get the opportunity. I'm like, Frankie, you've won the US Open twice. Like, that's ridiculous. Because we always giggle when they do the US Open. I said, so when they do the introductions, Frankie, they introduce all of the US Open champions. And what they've started doing now is they introduce all of the one-time US Open champions. And then multiple US Open champions. That's kind of been the way they've been doing it. I said, so I go, Frankie, you do know that right now that it goes you, then it goes Norm Duke, Walter Ray, and Pete Weber. Frankie goes, I look lost when I walk out there. With 4 PBA titles and 2 US Opens, and then he walks out, and then the next 3 guys, they say like 37, 40, and 47 titles. So it's just kind of funny. I'm thinking to myself, in 5 years' time, unless somebody who's already wins again, Frankie's going to be the last person they introduce at every US Open.
Nice problem to have, Frankie.
Yeah, it's kind of fun perspective.
Yes, indeed.
So what was it about the US Open? Because you also made the show more than once without winning, I believe, looking through some of the old footage.
Yeah, you know, the thing about that, it was the first one in Houston in Big Tex and at Jamie Brooks' place. They were tough there. They were tough. They were low scoring, and the TV payer came on, and my dad flew in and with my mom, and I went back to him. I said, man, this is just like bowling at home on lane 7 and 8. I got the shim of love here. And it turned out I did. But during the week they were tough. But in all honesty, the other 2, they weren't like what you guys bowl on this right now, 41 or 42 flat. They weren't shimmed to the hilt, but they got pretty good at times during the week. And
I bowled the one in Indy.
96 were in the arena setting, and that I didn't like that because I felt like, you know, I bowled good in the house all week. Maybe I had a little bit of advantage. I figured things out there, low end, high end, et cetera, night, early, all that stuff. And then we had to go to a completely new setting. So I thought maybe my advantage might have went away a little bit. But I mean, it obviously in history worked out okay. But it's the scoring pace on 95 and 96 weren't real low. They weren't super high, and I think it was in Detroit the first night, they got really ugly. And I was lofting a shadow R to the arrows, and I shot a couple hundred over for 8, and nobody else shot 100 over. And I went back and I went, man, I didn't think they were that bad. And everybody else said, geez, they couldn't keep it on the lane and this and that. Anyway, long story short, the lane conditions weren't like they are today. 82, they were tough. I used a yellow dot all week. Of course, that's way back. And they were ugly. But 95 and 96, they weren't super, super tough. Let's just put it that way.
I was there in 95. I've been bowling the mega bucks, and there was all this talk about these amateur guys are as good as the pros, and all kind of nonsense. And I was like in 7th or 8th. I was under 100 pins of the show with a round to go, and I was bowling pretty good. And they weren't, they were in closer to my wheelhouse. I wasn't that much of a grinder at that point, so I thought, all right, we're going to get going. I shot 240 over scratch, so I averaged about 230.
Yeah.
And from 8th to 10th, and from about 80 off the show to about 200 off the show. And all the real boys showed up that night. He shot 700 over with bonus pins that night.
Yeah.
You put a pounding on them, and I kind of held serve, so to speak, and just got pummeled. Just got my feet pounded in. Like, yeah, these guys at the higher level don't know what they're talking about. You don't get to when game 3 doesn't work out. I don't get to just throw that one away and go again.
Right.
The lights went on. You guys turned it up a notch, and I was just hoping to be as good as I was the time before, and that's why I knew I wasn't quite ready for that stage yet.
I can remember when I first went out, of course, I didn't have much success. And, man, I would just sit up in the corner in the bleachers and watch these guys and go, holy cow. And just like you said, all of a sudden it's 230, 240, 240, 250, 240. Man, when they got it going, it was unbelievable. And, the tour sent a lot of good players home. I mean, just for that reason. It's hard. You got to be able to spend some time out there a little bit. And it was different back then because we traveled 36 weeks out of the year. But still, I mean, until just exactly what you said, Chris, and until you see it and kind of get out there and you just don't realize it or can appreciate how good you guys really are.
Yeah, I didn't think Walter was that good. I just thought he played up 10.
Yeah.
TV, and then wait, he just ran down all the Rev guys on tour playing 27 on the night block in Rochester. Huh?
Yeah. Exactly.
Every week for nothing. It turns out.
So I've just got one person to pick on here a little bit. Hey, Tony, that's completely false. Completely false, because I've been there when Tommy's asked Mookie about baseball, and he doesn't know his arsehole from his elbow when it comes to baseball. He doesn't know shit about it. Not a thing. He goes, I never watched baseball when he was growing up. He knows more about Tommy Jones's career than he does Barry Bonds. So yes, maybe the guys don't embrace the history of bowling, but they also don't embrace the history of baseball either. Most of those guys don't care. So just that's my 2 pennies. I got it in. It just happened to be the wrong guy because I've been there when he's been asked questions. He doesn't know anything.
All right.
Well, one of our favorites, Buffalo. I remember we chatting with Husted at Junior Goals. Someone asked me, "Who are you talking to?" I almost slapped him for not knowing the game.
I don't blame people. Hey, like I said, I go into bowling center sometimes now, and we do some work together. Chris and I on occasion, and they come up and bug Chris all the time, but that's the way it's supposed to be. You guys are the relevant superstars now. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's no big deal.
Don't worry, I walk in with Simonson. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I guess you are becoming more of a veteran now, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah. They're putting me out to pasture, boss.
But, on another point, Dave, it is a generational thing, though, because we were at Bowl Expo, and I won't say who it was, but one of the guys on our staff, I said, have you ever met Steve Cook? And he said, who's Steve Cook?
I mean, it on one hand, it's a little sad. One of the best left-handers of all time, and won a lot of majors. But you know what? You can't blame him. It is what it is.
Well, I lit him up. I go, well, to start with, he's 6'7", so it's not like you can miss it. Second of all, he's like 15th on the all-time list, and third of all, he's got one of the biggest distributors in the country.
Right.
That's not to mention the fact that he owns 2 centers. So you really should know who that is.
True.
Yeah, we had a little fun with that. I almost introduced him. Hey, this is so-and-so. He doesn't know who you are, Steve.
You should do that next time.
You're going to kick out of that. He has a pretty good sense of humor with that sort of thing. All right. Well, do you have 10 questions to ask that he's not going to answer?
Oh, he might answer a few of them. We'll see. So, 10 plays with Dave Husted. Let's see what CP has for us today. So kind of fairly rapid fire. You can, but you're the star, so you can take as long as you want. This start with, what do you do to embarrass your kids?
Well, just kind of act my normal self.
That's enough, huh?
That's enough.
All right. Most famous person in your phone.
Could be Chris Barnes.
Oh, what a liar. You're such a liar.
That's it.
I have a feeling where this is going, but where do you keep your best trophy? Do you even know?
All my trophies are at the bowling center.
Well, there
I don't have any. I don't have any at home. My dad wanted them all at the bowling center to display, and they're all there. Yeah.
Champ's a great guy too. We didn't really get
to
talk to him.
Yes, he is. My number one fan.
You should all be so lucky.
Yep, absolutely.
I had another. Where's the other one? There. What's the first thing you notice about people when you meet them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
What's the first thing you notice about people when you meet them?
Well, I used to, when I meet them with a handshake, I don't anymore. And then if they look me in the eye or not, I can tell a lot about a person if they, when I met them, if they look me straight in the eye.
What's one thing you learned about your significant other, Michelle, during quarantine? Is she listening?
She's probably listening. Yeah, okay. She's heavily into the politics right now, which is kind of a touchy deal. I am not. So she gets her hackles up with the politics stuff now. I'll just leave it at that.
There you go. David Conover, the all-time GOAT of great people.
David Conover, he used to work for me many years ago. Great young man. Lives out in Palm Springs now with his wife, Jasmine. Great people.
I was about to say, Dave, nobody's ever come in and said that about me and Chris. So
Dismiss. I am runner-up, player of the year every year. Yeah, I just run up the whole field. What's your pet peeve?
Pet peeve? I don't really like people that blow their own horn a lot. I don't.
That's weird. It's so much, so anti your personality.
It's just something I just don't like it. It is what it is.
Who's the best trash talker on tour or in your history?
Couch was pretty good. Depending on what happened with the lanes, Bakes had his times where he was pretty good. But I'll tell you what, Couch was pretty tough. He was pretty good. He let the boys have it a little bit. Couch Jason was pretty good at it.
And he was really good at the low key punch in the face.
Oh yeah.
The all-time nice guy comes up, you throw the squasher or whatever and get the extra 30 and fills out the sheet, hands it to you. Nice score.
Yeah.
That's my proudest moment. That's my proudest moment until Don Dukes told me nice score twice. And I always respond the same way. Any score that's one more than yours, Norm, is always a nice score.
That's all it takes.
This one might be interesting. You had a few roommates over the years. One, name off a few of your roommates and then tell us who the best and worst roommates. Your best and worst roommate was.
Roommate with Bakes for a long time. I roomed with Kreitz a little bit. I roomed with Roth for about a winter tour. That didn't go well. Mark he liked them cigarettes and those cheeseburgers and Pepsis at all time. That kind of got a little rough. The best was Bakes. He became one of my best friends and my best friend. So just for that reason alone, but we got along really well. We liked, obviously the bowling, but we liked sports and we did a lot of stuff together. But Bakes, I roomed with him about 8 or 9 years. So that was a long time, but it was great. Still talk to him almost every day.
The cheeseburger and Pepsi, because you being such an adventurous eater, that's pretty far out of your wheelhouse.
I don't shy away from those either, but Mark was a special guy.
He was all a little bit more than just bowling.
Yeah. You could say that, but I'll tell you what, that boy, he just didn't want to beat you. He wanted to step on your neck. I mean, that guy was unbelievable. He was really, really good, and the best spare shooter I've ever seen. He was good. He was really good. The best.
And in context, you go with Walter Ray as well, who basically gets acknowledged as that now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
It's something else. Watching him and I watch a lot of TV more than and
Right.
how many splits he made and that kind of stuff. He was
Right.
So some side note, the next vegetable Dave eats will be his first.
Correct.
Say, Chris.
Don't eat vegetables. Don't like the stuff with color. Just maybe in a stew or a soup, I might be able to suck them down, but no raw carrots, celery. No. That's not happening. No green salad, none of that stuff. No.
So on all these overseas trips, what's one food that you've tried that you won't ever try again?
Oh boy, there was a couple in Japan. I didn't know what I was eating, and it was ugly. I'm not a big seafood guy either. I'll eat salmon and that kind of stuff, but I had a lot of McDonald's when I went to Japan. Which is really no bargain either, but I didn't go hungry.
All right, we'll finish up with the last one. What's one thing that you did that you thought Champ was going to have your lunch as a teenager?
I kicked the ball return once when I was practicing after school, and the lane went off, and he said, "Put your stuff away, and you're not bowling for a month." I was in the 6th grade. I was like 12 years old. I'll never forget it. And he got in the truck, and it was a tongue lashing on the way home. You're the owner's son. You can't be doing that. No matter how you bowl, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that was the one and only time I kicked a ball return, period.
Obviously, the same thing happened to me. Okay. At 10 frames.
Just one fun story about you talking about kicking a ball return. I remember Doug Kent saying to me, "You mean you've never broke your toe kicking a ball return?" He goes, "I thought we'd all done that."
Dougie Fresh.
He looked at me so confused. You've never broken a toe kicking a ball return? Seriously? He owns a couple, so, there you go.
I think I finally learned my lesson. I was bowling at Rose Bowl East, and they had above ground ball return still. And he'd solidified them a little bit. So, right lane, I'm throwing a shot, and I just switched from Lynn's to Dexter's. Well, one of the biggest things is Lynn's had a heel on them that's solid. Dexter's had a piece of leather there. So when I kicked the ball return after a bad shot, all I hit was a concrete block with the back of my heel.
Oh, shit.
A few times in my life, I did not complete league. I could not walk the last game.
Attaboy.
Yeah, that was finally okay, that's enough.
That's enough. Yep.
Was it though?
It didn't limit my temper any, just how I stopped kicking.
Just did away with the heel kick.
Yeah, the heel kick was gone. The toes hurt too much. Yeah, all that stuff. So,
thanks for coming on, Dave. Hopefully, we can get back to a situation where at least all the bowling centers in the country are able to open.
Absolutely.
That would be a good start. And then we can move towards, getting back to the industry thriving a little bit.
I agree. I do appreciate it, Stu. It was nice talking to you. I hope to meet you in person someday, and appreciate what you guys are doing, spreading the word and about our great sport and our industry. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
When are you looking to get to phase 2 there? Any word?
The governor's going to have she press conferences usually on Fridays, but the rumor mill is sometime after Labor Day, they think. What that means, we just don't know.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
The communication improves. It sounds the same in Michigan with Goike and those guys. They're just not getting any communication, can't get any word. So,
yeah.
Let's hope at some point that's, in some ways you almost hope it's political so that the election would just and we can start moving forward, whatever direction it needs to go. So
I agree. I totally agree.
but best of luck to you out there. Stay safe, stay healthy. All the best.
You too, guys. I really do appreciate it. Anytime I can come on, I'd love to. And Stu, like I said, hope to meet you soon, sir. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll talk to you, Chris. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Well, that was sobering to start with, but at least we managed to add a little bit of light to the conversation later on. Lighten it up a little bit, should I say. Just a quick update. I guess I messed up the timing, and our video is supposed to go live in 43 minutes. So check that out on the Beef and Barnzy YouTube page. I'll share it onto the Facebook page and everything as soon as it goes live. I thought I was being clever, but I'm not clever enough.
How many ball return kicks do you expect this weekend at Fort Sill? By me, none. It's been a minute since I've gone down that path. So
there's people walking around with uniforms and guns. Probably not very many.
I don't know if there's a lot of uniforms on the base on the bowling center there, but
I'm pretty sure they could rustle up a few guys to have you removed.
I expect me not to be one of those people that will be there. Plus, unfortunately, now my son bowls a lot, and so there's a little extra pressure to actually not be that guy. Yeah.
Spoiler alert: he failed the last time.
Well, I didn't kick anything, but yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly happy. That doesn't change, but yeah. Anyway, go away, Stu. Who asked you anyway? Where's Tina?
Yes, one of us is going to work in this relationship. Unfortunately, she drew the short straw.
Yeah, mine's at work too. So keeping me in the lifestyle I've become accustomed to. Yes, I have a new Milwaukee job site fan that I'll be bringing to Fort Sill.
We might even take a couple of pictures of it.
Yeah.
From the video Chris sent me, if I'm on lane 22 and Chris is on lane 5, I might be asking him to turn it down because it sounds like a jet engine taking off.
I don't know if I'll need a high power. We'll see. It's been a little warm, and it's supposed to be about 102 this weekend, so it's possible.
Goody. Okay, well, I've actually got a match this today. 4:30 Central Time, I believe, is going to be going on. I will share the details. We're not doing a very good job of marketing it, but I'm bowling against Justin Bone. He's been asking me to do this for a couple of weeks. So let's hope I can school the youngster. I'll share it onto my pages and probably on the Beef and Barnzy page. But yeah, should be a good time. I'm going to be able to beat one of the Bones. I figure it's probably better to take on the right-handed one than either of the other two.
Yeah, that's probably not. Although, yeah.
Although maybe Parker's the low-hanging fruit these days because he's not really getting the opportunity to bowl. I don't think he's quite got the. I don't think he's quite got the fire the same as his two kids have right now. They seem to be doing some pretty good things.
Yeah, those two are going to be something else. So again, look for that pre-Arsenal, kind of how we go about picking one. If you're interested in that kind of thing for a tournament, we'll have some updates throughout the weekend, maybe on the pages, and then Tuesday we'll have a recap on what's going on as well as Stu's match. So
yeah, and I'm going to quickly figure out how I share that to our page. So that we can, so that as soon as it goes live, it shows up. Yeah, just one more thing to figure out. So, all right, guys, take care of yourself. See you next week. Thanks. And let's hope we can get all the bowling centers open.
That's for sure. Once again, thank all our sponsors and support them. Support small businesses, especially those bowling centers. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.